I don't know if it's just me, but lately, like, unless it's a certain game, some games just like don't help me heal, and in fact make me feel more guilty for playing. And then some games make me feel like I'm lost in the world. I don't know. I guess because it's like school work or something. It's been hard for me to get immersed into games. But when I do get immersed, yeah, it's like healing. It's like nothing else matters. I feel like I'm leveling up. But yeah, I don't know. It's like recently, in the last like couple years, I'm like, games have been so weird for me. It's like
Do you feel like they're part of pressuring you because you have to play a lot of games?
well, no, I think it's the opposite. I feel like I want to play a lot of games, but like take a lot of my time. But I think that the hard part is I want to play a lot of games, but then like I also want to do a lot of things with other people, and or like even like for instance play multiplayer. Like
Right.
I want to play single player games because multiplayer games that's like where I do get a lot of like healing and stuff. But single player games is where I get my most like peace because I'm very. It may not seem like it, but I'm very introverted. Like I like to be in my own space and alone. So when people, I think it's my fault too. I like will do a lot of different things, and I also need to get work done. But I'm like, okay, games, I'll just do it later. I end up doing everything else plus the work, but minus the games. And when I do play the games, it's more of me sacrificing something else, and I feel like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I feel guilty. Yeah,
Totally.
yeah.
Just checking with you. Do you hear the saw buzzing
Oh
outdoors?
yeah, it's really loud.
Let me close the window. Alright, got it.
Much better.
Awesome. No, it's just like so frustrating too because you have life. But
Yeah, right.
now during the pandemic, you could at least play games with
hmm
less guilt about spending too much time on it.
Exactly.
But now, when things might be opening up again, are we going to go back to being guilty about how to balance all of these things we want to do?
Right? Because I played Last of Us, Ghost of Tsushima. I played so many games, beat them, had a great time, and then now it's like, do I have time? And it's hard because like I want to play the whole game. I want to experience it, and then I
Yeah,
only play like an hour, and then I feel like that sucks. I've turned
yeah.
it into like I just get to experience these different games, but still, it's like some of these games I want to go all the way. I want to like experience the story. I want to grow with these characters. I want to like because like for instance, God of War. When I play God of War mode, I really got to the point where I was so good that I felt like I've become God of War. Like, I was just yeah, like I don't. It just like I grew. I saw where I was and then where I was at the end. And
Did you get all the Valkyries?
no, I was playing God of War mode. I barely even beat the game. It was
It's
so hard.
so hard. Like I had to lower the difficulty because it wasn't enjoyable anymore.
I mean,
I want to
I
have a
don't
good
know.
time when I play a game. I don't
That's
want to
true.
have to like beat my head against the controller and throw it around the house.
Oh, you can change difficulty.
Mhm.
I think in God of War mode you can't. You're stuck.
That's so
Yeah,
hardcore.
it was, and I made it to the last boss, Baldur, and I made it to the third. I think there's like three parts in that last fight, and I couldn't beat him at the end, so I just gave up. But I
That
watched
game is
YouTube.
hard enough as it is on
Mm,
just the normal levels, honestly.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's funny. I would watch my friend play on like easier medium, and he was just it was sad. I was like, bro, you're like this. Come on, because like in God of War, you can only get hit like twice. So I'm watching him play. I'm like, dude, I expect better. Like, come on. And I was like, but it's just funny how when you can get to that good, where you just like sense the attacks coming. And I don't know if it's a regular edition, but God of War, like the enemies, if you don't kill them in time, they'll like grow stronger. Like, they'll heal and then have another health bar.
Oh, shoot.
I don't know if you know. Yeah, so like I'll fight the thing, and if I don't kill it, it gets a low health. It'll like do this thing, refill its health, add another health bar to it, and grow
Right,
stronger.
right.
And I was like, what? Yeah, so I was to the point where I was just like I was so badass with the powers, the throwing. Like I remember I would see one try to heal and I'd just be like, "Rah!" I would throw the thing and they
Hmm.
would die. And I'm like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, I
So how
get it.
much time did you spend on that
Oh,
game,
maybe
considering the
100
mode?
hours. I would spend, and this is like I had a lot of free time when I was playing God of War, so I would spend days, nights, weeks just trying to beat this game. I remember one time I think it would have been like 5 a.m. because I was just replaying the mission over and over and over and
Yeah.
over. Yeah, but like at the end I felt really like good about it. But that's because I had a lot of free time. It's not like I can't do that with games. But I don't know,
But
it made me feel like I could achieve like hard stuff, which I think
right.
translates to the work or stuff. Where it's like even it's hard. keep going.
But did you feel good during all of those moments, like having to go through it over and over and over again,
I don't know, it was frustrating, but no, I felt
right?
good when I did beat it.
So it was worth it in the end.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
It's so interesting because I'm not that kind of player. So I've never understood the charm of keep trying over and over again if I don't have fun while I'm actually trying over and over again.
but like it was fun. Well, no, the fun part to me wasn't the trying over and over. It was just winning at one point. I don't know. It's weird. I guess it's why like I'm okay with doing hard work sometimes. It's weird, right? So I
No,
think,
it's not though, because this is the endorphin kick that you get from
yeah,
winning, and you want more of that.
that's true. But like, why do I enjoy? Because people always ask me, why do I seem to enjoy like things that suck? Like for instance, like I would work in a job for 40 hours, and sometimes I would be at the point where I'm like, oh, this kind of sucks. Like I have to stand here for 6 hours. Today's slow. Like nobody's coming in. I have to do that for the rest of the week, and the rest of the month, and the rest of the year. So, but like I don't know, like I'm just like this is fun. Like I'm chilling. I don't know. I think playing hard games like that throughout because I did that not just now, but like throughout my whole childhood. Like I'll play games and even if it's hard, like I'll just
Right.
muster the energy and go through it. Has helped me like get through things that suck. Like even like school last semester, there'd be some projects where it's just I could not get the answer, and so I'd spend again, it's kind of the same as a game. I spend hours and hours and hours, and then I finally get it, and then I feel good, and then I get like an A, and I'm like, sweet. Let's do it again.
But isn't that though the difference of having a goal, comparing that to something that is infinite? So let's say that you had to keep doing school, like this is just one course out of infinite amounts. Would
Mm.
you still have the same satisfaction?
Well, I mean, yeah, I feel like it's just like a next level. It's like
Yeah.
God of War, you beat the first level. Might have taken me 5 hours. Then I get to the second one, and the third one. And then the fact that I never beat God of War makes me feel like, yeah, there's just always. Well, it's not even just God of War. So let's say I beat God of War. There's another game to play. There's more
Hmm.
challenges, more objectives, more people to save. I, it's weird because I feel like I don't know if I'm the only one. I just know from my experience that I feel as though me playing games has actually helped me become productive in real life in a weird, twisted way. But I now, because of that, it's weird. I can't seem to. I think what has happened is I've gotten so. I don't think I'm able to enjoy the moment. I've realized this actually recently in a couple like days. I was like, I think sometimes I just get bored, and I don't know if it's because maybe I got stressed out or burnt out, but like I just don't feel like struggling to beat it. It's like, oh, I can't beat this level. Let me just go play something else. Let me go do something else. I think I'm just tired of like constantly grinding it out for something that like, it's just a game, I guess. It doesn't really give me that much
Well,
external goal. Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I think I've come to a point where I realize like I'm using too much energy in life that like why use that energy to beat a hard game when you can play something that's easier or just like watch a YouTube video. You know what I'm saying?
but
Like,
isn't that also part of the lesson? Like, games are teaching us several things, and if you're grinding a game, that will teach you to be tenacious. Like, it's gonna be a good lesson, and I feel like, especially the way we're thinking, like mentally, it does help us evolve. Like, we can learn so much through games. But then you come to a realization that this is not worth my time anymore. I'm not actually gaining anything. Doesn't that just mean that you're moving on and you learn something new then?
hmm, that's okay. Which is you're saying like that game has taught me something and now it has nothing left to teach me. It's time to move to something else.
Yeah.
Maybe a different game or a different experience.
And maybe you're just saturated with that type of game, so you want a break. You want something easier in between.
Yeah.
And if anything, that broadens your horizons. You get to play a lot of different games instead of spending 100 plus hours on one single game. I think we've all done that.
Yeah. You're right. I guess it's true because I guess it weeds out the games that just. I guess you're right. It weeds out games I shouldn't spend 100 hours on, so I
Hmm.
can go to a game that would. Like for instance, Cyberpunk, I spent like 200 hours, and I probably will spend more once they fix everything and add DLC and all that stuff. That game really. Have you played Cyberpunk 2077?
No, I have not. I'm waiting for more patches, and I'm having a lot of different feelings about playing that game. I do have the occasional thing blocking me about I'm worried about a lot of the sexism that I expect to see or that I heard about, or just all of these things that it stops me for sure. Like it ruins a little bit my excitement about it.
The
So I'm trying
sexism.
to.
What did people say about it?
There's been a couple of articles out there about how they're portraying, sorry, how they're portraying characters, and a lot of nudity, and all the focus is about the bodies. And I mean,
It is interesting. Yeah.
it is a video game, it's a fantasy, but there's also very little variation to make it feel like everybody's represented. So it's a very non-representative game for all the different types of body types and people that there are in the world. And I don't know, I have this weird association with that to me it became more and more important that we have a lot of diversity in games, because I want to see more representation, because that also teaches us a lot of things. And I think it comes from a background of seeing how biased people are when there's only a single kind of person constantly portrayed.
Mm-hmm.
And now suddenly people are upset when they see a different body type in a game. They don't like a person because they might be overweight, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So it's
That's
just
messed
like,
up.
yeah. So I feel like games have also been twisting a little bit our biases through the times, and especially in the beginning when they were so much catered towards a very specific audience. Like white cis males have been the primary audience for games for the longest times.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been making the games for these people, which enforces the stereotypes. So I am having a lot of, I don't know what to call it, but hesitation about playing a game that still caters to this kind of niched audience.
Mm-hmm. The only thing I could say about the game for that is that you could make your character any type of way you want, any type of gen. Like it's, and then the characters in the game, there are a lot of nudity, but there's also a lot of different type of representation for what's attractive in the, I guess you say, sexual marketplace of the game. That like, I would feel like you should probably play it, then take into account the articles, and then make the final conclusion. Because I think there are some parts where it's like, yeah, but then they have this too, so it's like maybe they didn't play all the way through, or it's just like I don't know. But it's also made by Polish people, which are a very specific diverse group of people who also have a team of diverse people. So it's like it's interesting where people like how a game is made and how what it's made by and for who, and then what it's made from, like where the different ideas come from, and then how they actually implement into the game. So I would check the game. I don't know. I don't know how, because I never took those into account. So I just experienced the game.
Which is not a bad thing, honestly. Honestly, I appreciate consuming media without having any pre-known assumptions or knowledge about it. I think that's the best way of actually experiencing it. But when it came to Cyberpunk, I couldn't, like, the articles were all around in media for me, because I'm looking out for those kinds of types of media articles too. So it's a little bit my fault, but I'm also like, I like the idea of playing something, trying to start from a clean slate, not knowing anything, and make your own assumptions. And this is one of those games where I couldn't do it because the media and like my group of friends were sending me all these articles, and I'm like, oh no.
No. Besides Keanu Reeves, which is Keanu Reeves, all of my favorite characters in the game were of different races, like Spanish. There's one character, I'm not sure what she was. She might have been either Latino or African American. I think African American. yeah, so it's like I don't know. My favorite characters are also diverse, and there was, but there, I'm thinking of specific scenes where I'm like, yeah, there's just things they're throwing out. It's like that was just there for the people who like,
The fan
the
service.
sexual appeal of games or the nudity of cyberpunk. So like, yeah, and like some of it just didn't make sense. Like it was once I was like, hmm, doesn't really make sense, but okay, all right, interesting. I can see where that
Yeah.
appeals to certain people. And then, but yeah, and then but the main character technically, unless you make it differently, is a white male. Unless you change it, which you can. But like, yeah, that's how it was marketed for.
Can
It's
you
just
change it to be
interesting.
a woman?
Yeah, yeah. You can be a woman. You can be a guy. You can be a different race. You can be different. You can be a male, but also be a female. Like you can change
Mm,
everything. So yeah,
nice.
and then it actually affects how you interact with the romance options in the game. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah. Well, I think I just well the thing I was gonna say about it before we got this deep into
Sorry.
that was that there were moments in the game that made me feel like I was actually in real life.
Mm.
And for instance, there was like a bonfire scene. Because I love bonfires. Like, I love them. So when they were like talking, doing these things, I actually felt like I was in the world, in that type of environment as this character, and I just started to just feel like at peace. Because when I'm at a bonfire, I feel peace. But I just felt peace, and I was like, this is what life's about. It's less about what you want to be. Like, it's less about your profession. It's less about what people tell you to do. It's more about just the moments like this where you just sit under a bonfire with the people that matter, no matter where you are in the world, and just enjoying that company together, getting ready for whatever you have to do later, whatever it is your job. But it's like I don't know. I felt like this so at peace moment that I've never felt in a game before, where I was just like, this game and real life are the same. What we do after this moment doesn't matter whether it's in the game, whether I quit the game and go into like go school or do work, or quit that scene and go and play the game. It just feels the same to me. I felt like I was actually like outside of my bonfire, and then I went to go pick up the controller again after that scene ended, which is the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me when I was playing a game. I've never
Mm.
felt like no, there was not a disconnect between I'm playing a game or I'm not in the game. Like so, and then they did it again. I think that's what they wanted when you said only first person point of view. They did it twice to me where I was like, this just feels like I'm in another city and I'm about to go home from vacation. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I can't wait till we get games where it's like VR or augmented reality where
Mm-hmm.
you are just immersed into these different experiences that don't have to be fake. They're actually just real. And then I like again with the Harry Potter quote that I like throw around, just because it's happening in your head, happening in the virtual world, doesn't mean it's not real. Because also another thing I've experienced while playing games when I was younger, all my good friends were virtual. I mean, I had some friends, but I was that kid who was like a loner at school. Like I didn't have that many friends, but I had like 50 friends online.
Yep.
And everyone always told me those friends aren't real. And then I had like a girlfriend one time, like, that's not a real girlfriend or real relationship. And then now we speed up to like 20 years later, and it's just like people are doing this now and more long distance relationships, people because of jobs, because of this. I'm like, because it wasn't happening face to face doesn't mean it wasn't real. I've actually had better friends who cared more about me online than I did in person. So like, it's this
Yep.
weird thing nowadays where I'm like, why were we like that? And why? I'm glad we're moving to a point now where people just like your friends wherever they are. Like you can have amazing friends and nobody sees it as fake. But the thing that was twisted about that was I watched that movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson, and it felt like that though. When I would talk to people online and I couldn't see them face to face, it felt like I was talking to like an AI that was just trying to be my friend, trying
Mm.
to say the right things. So it was weird watching that movie, and I was like, that's what I felt like. And maybe I was like delusional. Maybe I wasn't living in reality. I think I'm conflicted between living in reality and like the virtual world that I've like I don't know, I've struggled with this for so long. So, but yeah, that's the first time in a game where I was just like, no, just because it's here doesn't mean it's not real. And in fact, I feel the same feelings I feel when I don't know, that I thought that was beautiful because this game had like I realized after playing the game had some things where it's like, oh yeah, it missed a lot of things it was supposed to do. Like, but I guess I got so like trapped with the certain characters because there's a few characters in the game who are perfect, and I
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
So here's a thought on that actually. So a lot of times when we're designing games, mechanics, situations, we need to make it relatable.
Hmm.
Things needs to be relatable. If you're making something that's a complete fantasy, you will also view it as a fantasy. But if, let's say, for instance, Subnautica, if you're afraid of water, you're gonna feel it. It's relatable. You know that feeling of submerging underwater. If you have a fear of water, it's probably gonna be very, very tough for you to play that game.
Hmm.
But that's the charm of it. So for your instance, when it came to the bonfire, so you mentioned something right at the beginning there, which is you said, I love bonfires.
Yeah.
So you relate to that. You
I
have a
did
certain
so
feeling and
much.
emotion to that. So we try to add as many situations and relatable situations as we can because that will make you feel immersed.
Hmm.
So it's not an accident. It's definitely planned. It's designed to be relatable for you to
Hey.
feel like you're
Mhm.
there.
They did it. They got me. They
Mm-hmm.
got me. And
And
also, I think it
it's
was
cool. They build up for it.
yeah, and then it wasn't just that too, but I think it was the choices that you had to make before that moment happening. And also, like right before that, I think the character kind of like confesses that they care about one of the romance options you can have, which is what that one character was very relatable too. And there was just so much going on where like that moment hit me so much that I was just like, wow, wow.
You probably experienced something similar or
Yeah.
something that made you think about something that happened. And as soon as you hit that relatable trigger, that's when you're immersed.
So do you think like once you can hit that trigger, immerse people, do you think you can design it like design the next few moments to heal? Like what if not just in games, but like what if somebody had trauma, right?
Hmm.
And then you could figure out what caused them that trauma. Could you then create an environment where they can go and then trigger that trauma, but then also move towards a place of healing? Like what if we could make a
Right.
certain game, not just like an actual game to play, but like little moments where people can then go to heal their trauma? Because you know how you say that games are a place where people can feel empathy, a safe
Hmm.
space. So what if I ever watched play read the book Divergent or watched the movie Divergent? Well, basically they
I
took a
don't think
serum
so.
and they would face their fears in the virtual, like in their head.
Virgin.
Divergent.
I'm like
It's,
looking at now. Yeah.
yeah,
So
so
please.
they could take the serum and face their fears, and then they could overcome their fears. So it's like, what if we did that in a weird way? Put somebody in like a VR thing, and then get to a moment where it triggers something so they feel immersed, and
Hmm.
then have them deal with it in a safe space, and then design it in a way where they can slowly help them heal. Because I
But
feel like that's what
there
happened.
is a game for that. Like,
Oh no, I
uh,
meant like as in like we get like therapists to design a specific.
right.
I'm not calling game, but like for every individual, they're like okay, they analyze them and they go okay, now we need a team to develop some type of environment experience that then they can take after it's done to help them truly heal. Because I feel like talking about it is great, but to experience it and then to choose options and choices that then go like, and then if you don't heal from it, then they design it in a different like maybe you go in a different experience. You're like okay, that didn't work. Maybe we do this, or then
Yeah.
they still choose the wrong choices, and they like, okay, we have to design it differently. I don't know. I feel like games can help people, and not just that, but like, because I've always seen it as it can help people. Like, you get VR and you can practice flying a plane. Cool, like that's cool technical stuff. But what if we can use it to help like fix the problems we have in our mind,
Mm.
or our emotions, our feelings that we couldn't do before? Because it's hard in real life. It's our
Hmm.
people also you can't like in a game you can get someone to care about you, but in real life it's like you don't want it to be fake, so you want them to do it over time and slowly. But like what if in the game you experience all that at once and you know it's not real going in, but once again you hit that trigger because again at that moment I didn't realize the difference between fake or real. It was just real to me. And because you
Yeah.
said that I was like, wow, what if we could do that? What if we could heal the world with games? Because as we learn, like with assets and Unity and Real, we're able to make games faster and faster. So it's like, what if we could allow people to use games to just help people deal with their trauma or their pain? Because I feel like talking about it is great for so long, but maybe we could do something with all that information Instead of just saying, okay, see you next week, it's like, okay, well, we're gonna go build something for you based on what you gave us to help you deal with this. I don't know. I just thought of that right now. I don't know if it's a
I
good
definitely
idea, a
think
bad
it's
idea.
possible.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's possible. I don't know if we today, at this age and our current technology limits, are able to go all the way, because I do feel like we can bridge the gap
Yeah.
by putting you in a certain situation through a VR game or space and game, a reality, I mean, to practice it in a safe space. I definitely think that's doable.
Mhm.
But eventually, even today, we will be very aware of the difference between reality and game. And I think it would be an amazing tool to bridge a certain kind of, like, we bridge a part of that trauma until you actually go out and practice it in real life. I think that's where we could do it right now. Like, we are practicing in a safe space in a virtual reality, and then the next step, maybe third, maybe fourth step, would be actually practicing it in real life.
Mm.
So we build up that kind of thing. So as an example, that we have the game Arachnophobia. Have you
Okay.
heard about that game?
No.
Okay, I have not tried playing it. I will never try playing it. So that's the thing. You need to like be aware that you're
Yeah.
gonna be very challenged. So Arachnophobia is a game, a VR game,
Okay.
where so you had the VR on and you're basically sitting and you see your hands in the VR space and you're sitting at a table, and then a spider will climb up on the table, and it starts with a small spider. And you can move your hands, I think. I haven't played it, note that, but I've seen
I need
videos
to
of
play
it.
this. I'm afraid of spiders.
Same here. Like, I'm not good with any kind of insect.
Same. It's because I had a dream. I can tell you that later, but yeah.
Yep. And I think, yeah, I think it even starts with the spider being like inside of a glass.
Hmm.
And then the glass will come closer and closer to you. And then there's a time when the glass is removed, and you will actually have the spider crawling on top of your hands, and the spider will get bigger. So this is like building up that kind of fear. And it's like me
And this
just
isn't a
watching
VR
the
game?
videos. Yeah, it's a VR game,
Okay.
which means it's really, really
Yeah, you
immersive.
really, yeah. Oh my goodness. I need to play. Is it on PlayStation VR?
I don't know if it's in PlayStation VR, like, but yeah, look it up. It's it's part of like one of those nightmare games, but
Mhm.
it has a really good um, it's like a therapy.
Mhm.
You know, there's no spider, but you're so immersed in the game because it's VR that you will feel it on your hand.
No. Oh my goodness. Yeah, right? Isn't it like your brain thinks it's. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Are you looking at videos right now?
I'm trying to find it, yeah.
And the level will increase, and it guides you through more and more difficult. Ooh, I'm
Oh,
actually
okay, I
watching
see it.
videos
There's a
right now.
spider. Okay. It's just in the glass. No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. What's he looking at? Why? Okay. I'm trying to see if the spider gets bigger.
So level 1 is it's in a jar, and then level 4 is that they are like on the
Oh, there's
table
more.
and they're actually moving.
This is scary.
Right?
I I don't even.
So this is a good example of what you were talking about, actually trying to bridge and provide a safe space and a session of therapy for you to face your fears. I'm really curious about games like this and how they would evolve to more or other experiences.
Oh my God. Oh my God. So I'm going down a rabbit hole of spider videos, and yeah, I can't do this. Okay.
I don't know.
I can't.
But
I such a fear of spiders. It's
yeah,
horrible.
but level 1 seems fine, and maybe that's where you stay for a while. Maybe that's
Oh my
okay.
God. I'm getting like freaked out now.
I
I
know.
can't even like
But it's the same thing. I think it goes the opposite way too, that you can actually build up a trauma through games. Maybe it's not only a space for healing, but let's say you have probably seen all these VR games when you are balancing on a plank, and you are like they have skyscrapers all around, and
Hmm.
it's just
Oh,
down.
I also have a fear of falling. Yeah,
Yep. I think you can actually get a fear from these games.
which is scary too. Yeah.
It's a huge
Mhm.
power to hold, and I think that's why we need to be very careful and mindful of it as well. Like, that's why there are warning signs. Like, don't play this if you think it will do
Yeah.
you more harm than good.
Same with like military people. They probably, especially as you make more games immersive, can trigger some things. Like you're playing Call of Duty and out of nowhere, just like bombs go off and it makes that noise, and you're like, you just think of like that. Because I think
Yeah.
that's what happened with Saving Private Ryan. It triggered like PTSD in soldiers because it was too realistic. That some
Mm.
like people committed suicide or some people just relived those memories and it just brought them like back to dark place.
Yeah. Which is, again, they did a good job of making it relatable, but it's such a huge power to hold. Again, like, it needs to be wielded very carefully.
Yeah, because there's two audience you have. You have the audience who doesn't have that. They don't understand that mental situation. So they, when you do make it relatable, they get it. Like, oh, this is horrible. I understand. Like, wow. But then for the other person, it's like I already have experienced this. Now you're bringing it back to me that I, maybe didn't want. Or so it's like, how do you balance the two, where you explore, where you can make it relatable to the audience that doesn't understand it, but also make it, I guess, bearable for the person who has experienced it. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that because you want people to understand um, these situations. Because I guess it's not relatable at all. Like, well, the only time I ever finally realized this was when somebody was like, "I don't understand what social anxiety or like what it means to be nervous before like a um a speech or a live stream or something." And I was like, "What?" Like this person literally was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't have that." And that's the
Yeah.
first time where somebody's ever said that, I guess, in my whole life. So when that was the first said, I was like, "What? This isn't like I've always been used to having that like jitters and being like, oh, okay, I got to do this and whoo." So when somebody said, I was like, maybe there's a lot of things I've experienced and then maybe that a lot of people have experienced that like half the world doesn't experience. And I was like, well, that's weird. And so then they're not relatable. So that makes sense to like why people will say comments. And so then I've grown tougher because of it, but I still understand why people who don't and they're like just constantly getting attacked, like, why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And it's just like, because they can't. People are different. And as we
Hmm.
learn more about the world, like neurodivergency or different mental situations or just different things, it's like people are so different. People are,
Yeah.
and especially the whole ADHD, autism, Asperger type of situation. Some people experience the world in such a different way and are able to portray themselves as normal, but they're really not, like they're dealing with so much stuff. Just to go through a day is tiring. Going through a week is tiring, and that's why people like to stay like in their own safe space, in their own little bubble. And I have
Mm.
a friend like that too, who's just like he's super confident, super himself. But as I bring him to like, introduce new people, he just changes until he gets comfortable. He goes back to being that person. I'm like, we're all just little like we're just dealing with different things that I didn't realize. And then I went on a cruise with him one time, and I learned more about him than I ever have in my life. And I was like, wow, how do we do this? How do we? It's weird. It's weird how we're all just totally different people, and yet we have trained ourselves to try to be the same in every different situation. It's like, oh, you're supposed to act this way. It's like, yeah, but I don't feel that way. Like, I need to act this way. And
Yeah.
then if you don't act with it, you're different. And it's just like, maybe I'm different. Maybe I'm just normal to me and different to you.
But that's the thing. What's normal? Like, we're
Exactly.
all
So what?
different.
Yeah. Which is why I love
Yeah.
games. Because there's so
Normal
much
is
games.
is just unanticipated behavior,
Yeah.
and we're all our own unique snowflakes. Like, there's no one alike. We can have relatable situations. We can go through the same experiences, but it's always gonna be experienced a little bit differently.
Mhm.
And I think the biggest problem that society has today is not accepting that. They are
Which doesn't
not.
make sense to me,
Yeah.
actually. If you think about it, really hard. Like, we have so many cultures in this world. Like, people are all different. So why does one like group of people decide that, hey, if you're not like the way we are, then you're different, you're weird, you're not normal? It's like there's like literally thousands, millions of people. We're all different tribes, different people, different societies, different cultures. What is normal? There is no normal. Normal to me is just you're a good person and you are good to other people. That should be like the normal. But other than that, like everything else is just how you want to portray your portray yourself or express yourself to the world.
Yeah. And normal basically means that you're not allowed to have that kind of self-expression that derives from being normal.
Yeah, then you start to
Normal
be
is a
like,
shackle.
yeah, you become
It's
one of those people who are all the
totally
same.
limiting you.
Hmm. You don't want to be the same.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then that's the thing that what's the opposite of normal? It's something very negative. It's being abnormal. Being different, however, has a little bit more positive a tone to it, but that's
Yeah.
also something that we all are. It's the normal.
That's wild. But maybe that's a good thing because if being abnormal becomes normal, then being normal, like boring, becomes then different. Which would, but maybe maybe we want that. Maybe being boring is, I don't know. It's weird. It's such a weird thing to have. But then
But that's
again,
also why games are like amazing because games have the power to portray so many variations and different kinds of people and mental states and just life situations. So we have the power to consume and learn through those. But again, I kind of want to like point back to the relatable aspect. You mentioned Saving Private Ryan and those that have actually lived and experienced it compared to those who haven't.
mhm,
Those who have not will learn something, hopefully, be more understanding of the ones that have experienced it, understand the frustration. They will never, ever, ever be able to actually understand what it's like to have experienced it, though. It's two completely different worlds.
it is, yeah. Do
And
you
at
think games
least
could help?
I don't think games can help the actual lived in real life experience, but it can bridge it a little bit. So, like all media, we can help create an awareness because at the end of the day, they will come out of that movie being like, it was just a movie, or they will close down the game and be, it's just a game. It affected me immensely, but at the end of the day, it's just a game. But they can at least carry that experience with them and maybe be more humanitarian, more empathetic towards those that have actually lived those experiences. But there's nothing that can compare you from having a real life experience yet, in my opinion.
Hmm.
Let's say that you had never ever experienced a bonfire. You'd probably feel this is cool, this is amazing. You will feel something. But if you're carrying that real life experiencing, you feel the heat from it, you
Yeah,
hear the
that's kind of how it
sparks.
was. Yeah, I was just like, I feel it.
Yeah,
I
you
felt
add that
warm,
on
which is
top of
weird.
it.
I
Yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah.
did. I felt like I was like, wow. Yeah, but it's only because I've experienced it.
Yes. If you never experienced fire, how do you know what it feels like?
Wow.
If you never experienced wind blowing, you can get a nice feeling in the game, but you can actually feel the wind if you've had that experience, right?
Hmm. That's wild. Okay.
Games can't bridge real experiences yet. And that's
Not
why I
yet,
think,
though.
yeah, and that's
Maybe
that's
one
exactly
day.
what I mean, like not yet, but it would be incredible if we get there someday.
Hmm.
But there's an immense power that comes with it.
That's true. Great power comes great responsibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it's also a way we can help grow as a society. I really do, because like it comes to a point where we're moving away from, we're trying to, at least from like constant battles, wars. Um, we're kind of moving away from the old primitive way of life and moving towards a society where we can learn and empathize with everything that's happened in society. Because we've never been able to do it before. Like the last 100 years, we've been able to basically showcase what the world has gone through with movies like Jurassic Park. I was reading that too. I was in university, so I'm like, we literally took a moment in history and basically brought it to life again and for us to experience. Could you imagine doing that like 200 years ago? Humans be like, I mean, they probably didn't even know because they didn't have archaeologists that much. But the idea that we literally brought like part of history and put it into our lives. Like as you're walking through the lines, there's dinosaurs, and we've gotten to a point where they look real now and they're moving like the animatronics, and you're like, what? Like this is kind of wild. Like I'm just like I've been just thinking about this lately. I'm like, this is just crazy. We're literally doing this. We're literally bringing stories into real life, and they're putting the music, and they're having people talk like the characters, and you're like, I feel like I'm in like Harry Potter world. I'm in Jurassic. So it's like I think we're moving to a point where games can help us fully experience different type of situations. So like for instance, Detroit Become Human, I really cared about these characters. So
Mm.
what if we did a situation where they made you care about all the people that you interact with and then have a type of like D-Day where you fight with these characters and they slowly are dying in front of you. And because you've spent hours and hours with these characters, and then you're the only one alive, that when you get to the end of it, everyone that you cared about is gone. You feel maybe the closest you could to that situation without having to deal with the trauma and death that comes from it. That maybe instead of, we can then learn from that so that as a society we can move forward and be better because of that. Because I think those experiences bring great lessons for people. It
Mm.
comes with huge baggage that I don't think people want to carry. But what if we can then have people experience that huge like lesson without the baggage? But they'll feel it for a little bit. Like, oh, these characters, they meant so much to me and I lost them because I made these choices or because the world had to make these choices because we had to go save these people. And then you can turn it off the game, but still it's like I think that's how we can move forward because we need to experience the stories that are told through the books or movies, and games are one where you can actually experience it and actually learn from it. Movies, you go, cool, let me go learn that lesson, and then you kind of forget about it, and then you go watch it, like, oh, I remember that lesson, didn't take it in. But when you play a game, you're actually there, especially if it's first person, you actually empathize with it, and you
Mm.
actually maybe learn from it. Most of the lessons I've actually truly learned are from games, and I've actually implemented them. Movies and shows, I'll go back, I'm like, oh yeah, you're supposed to do that. Didn't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think as a society we need to move away from violence and more into not as in violence as in like no violence ever in games and media, but like less in the real world and more in let it out or express it into games so that way we can learn. Hurt a lot of people. I think that's why you need to care about the characters you've hurt
Mm.
and then be like, I don't ever want to do that. Because like for instance, GTA can do that. You can hurt people. Because in GTA, anytime I play that game, I don't want to hurt people as much, which is ironic because the game is like basically go around you're criminal. But there have been choices in the games. It's like you have to hurt these people, or you could choose to say. I think there's some moments too where you like you can kill them or not, and I would not. I would let them go because it just felt wrong. I
Mm.
understood what that meant. It meant like the person's. I don't know. So it's like you can experience these moments and realize this is not right. This is harmful. I don't want to do that. And so then we can make a society where people go in real life like, hey, like I've seen people get hurt. I'm not going to do that. And hopefully, if you can continually do that for time and time again, people will be less violent, less racist, less hurtful for people because they see what it does to people. Like, could you imagine a game where you say certain things and then it makes someone angry and that person comes and kills like your main characters that you're with, and you're like, if I didn't say these things to that person, maybe that person wouldn't have hurt the people I cared about. Why would I? If that happened, maybe that can happen in real life because these are all told from like
Yeah.
experiences, like human experiences. So, yeah. So like, I think as we move towards a culture that embraces video games, we can then learn that maybe if we learn to use these games to guide humanity towards a better future, while teaching the lessons from the past, because the world was violent, the world was this way, the world, we can then move towards a society where we can instead of fighting each other, we focus on shooting for a better future, shooting for so like that's why I think I'm so into video games, and because it's more of a psychological, and I like psychology. I love it, and like I think the idea is, if we can make, how can we turn a culture towards caring about the future, caring about each other, being empathetic, and I don't know, from playing games, I've learned to be more caring and empathetic with people. I'm like, because it's hard being introverted and shy. I was like, I don't just know, I don't really. But when I play games and then I go into real life and experience people and their problems and deal with them, like yeah. We should care more about people and listen to them like a game. Like when you go in a game, you care about all the dialogue. Usually you do. You like want to hear their story and you want
Mm.
to help people. And it's like then I do the same thing in real life. I'm like you want to hear people's story and I want to help people. I've just taken what I do in games into real life. Because someone mentioned that and it was like, what if we could do that? What if the same type of choices we made in games we did in real life? Why are we so easy to say hello to a stranger in a game, but so hard to say hello to a stranger in real life? We just walk by them, or even we don't actually mean the how are you. We just say it and move on with our life.
Yeah.
Why don't we
Yeah.
stop for a second and embrace the life that's around us? I think I don't have the book, but there was a quote I read once, and it was a whole poem, and it just dealt with that. It's like everybody's quick to say how are you, but fast to no, like quick to say how are you, but without the consideration of actually what their answer meant, because we're just going by, hey, how are you, and see you
I
later.
feel that's a cultural thing, though. I was
Yeah.
struggling with that because I never understood it. When I first moved to Canada, people would walk past me in the corridor and saying, "How are you?" And I would stop, turn around, and start to actually talk about how I am. But the person would actually just walk past me. And I remember standing there being like, what just happened? I didn't understand what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a cultural thing. Like,
But
I've
why?
never had
It's
that
like you've been trained to be
experience.
nice, but not really. I think that's why a lot of American friends, like I've experienced this lately, but people will be like, a lot of people are fake. And I'm like, yeah, but I haven't dealt with that my whole life. Like when I was younger, well, I guess in school, yeah, but when I go home and play with my friends online, it's like, hey, how are you? And same with people online. Like I'll play Assassin's Creed multiplayer. So I'd be like, hey, how are you? And they're like, good. And like we would talk for hours and hours and hours. And some random strange. I'm like, all right, see you later. And I
Mm.
was like, I mean, I get because you're playing a game and it's all, but still, it's like it's just weird how like the world really is and how the virtual world is. And I will say that there are differences because I've experienced and people told me my whole life, but people are nicer when you're playing games. Well, most of the time. Even it depends because even in Call of Duty, like if you, I remember the banter, you the trash talking back and forth. But if you were like good and you both like kind of like had fun with the trash talking, not always good, but I feel like then you build like a bond where you're like, hey, you're tough and I'm tough, and like yeah, let's go play games. Sometimes those negative, and I've seen people who do it in such a negative way where it's not even just like, hey, I'm gonna insult you jokingly. It's like, hey, you suck, and like I'm gonna say some things that are horrible to you, and it's just like that's just toxic. And I think those people are also toxic in real life, and they just kind of have the power to do it in the virtual world, and so they let it
Mhm.
out more. And it's just like again, it just people show the true colors. Whether it's they got money, people with more money or more power are just more of themselves. And it's true. It's like when you're given this power, you get to choose who you are, and usually you choose who you've always been. So it's like it's the Captain America thing where it's like the serum made him more of who he was, which meant he was more honorable, worthy, honest, a good person. And then if you give him power and you're a bad person, usually you're gonna be more bad. So it's I don't know, and then like I don't know how you change that because I've seen people who want to do good, but are given more power and end up doing more bad. And I'm like,
Mm.
is it how do you help someone choose to be good? How do you keep teaching them lessons? You keep surrounding themselves with material that makes them that can games help people see that the choices they make actually aren't as good as they thought it was. I
Yeah.
don't know.
It's games make it a little bit easier actually to make those choices. It's easier to tell what the choice will lead to in games. And I think that's the because there's a limit to your choices in games. You can't. It's really really hard to make a game that has unlimited amount of choices.
It is,
Like
yeah.
Skyrim might be a good example, the one that succeeded pretty good actually at that. But it's just like in real life, you could do infinite amount of choices. Like
Hmm.
even not doing a thing is a choice, really. Like you decided that I'm not gonna poke my nose into this, or
Yeah.
that's a choice.
Hmm.
And I do feel like that's why I really like playing narrative games because they will provide you those life choices. You mentioned a couple of things there that resonated with me, but you mentioned Detroit becoming human. There's a lot of choices there. How immersed you are when you're first person, it's your choice. You learn something from it. Have you played Life is Strange?
No, but I think my sister bought it or played it, so I should
Yeah.
play it too because I heard those games are. It's basically by the same company, right? It's a Quantic Dream.
No, it's Don't Nod, I
Oh,
think.
okay.
Don't Nod Entertainment.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, I gotta check those out because those are also good ones I've heard. Because I didn't know the games like that existed until Detroit came out.
Yeah. Oh,
Now,
really?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
you're late to
and
the party.
Detroit. I know, and Detroit are my favorite type of games. Again, I'm people think opposite, but I'm very introverted. Like I like to just close everything off and get immersed into a game and
Mhm.
just experience. Yeah. So I'm like, well, there was more of these games, and I could have. Ah, I was so upset. I was like, dang.
Don't
Yeah.
worry,
So
there is.
they're still there.
Unfortunately,
I can still
it's
play
quite
them. I
niched.
have
It's
time.
yeah. Yeah, that. No, I'm not gonna spoil Life is Strange, but that's a game that could be interesting to talk about because I had a lot of moral decisions in it. And I think they did a really good job at portraying the difficulties in the decisions and seeing the results of your decisions as well. So I think I should save that for another topic.
So Life is Strange is like Detroit, right? Where you make choices and it's like very story driven.
Mhm.
Maybe we should do that after coffee time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
and
should
then
do that.
do it.
I'm actually excited to see what you would think about that game.
Okay.
And the reactions. Okay, let's put that.
So that's the second game we'll do. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I'm
Yeah,
I'm actually inclined of asking if we should do it right now because I'm excited to see what you would think about it.
I mean, I'm down. Yeah, I mean, we could do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we could do it the next time we talk, or it's just gonna be hard because I don't have my computer, but we can make it work.
Just try it out and see. Don't play too much because it already from the get-go you'll get choices.
True. Oh wait, so you don't want to do it like you and I play from the beginning, or you want me to just play?
We should do it from the beginning together.
Okay, yes, let's do that. So yeah, but when you win, we'll talk about it later when we're not recording. But yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that next. I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. Actually, it's one of those games that I definitely think it's on the level of Detroit Becoming Human, but it's a little bit more relatable
Mm-hmm.
because it puts you like in a situation that is more relatable. I think like you building an army is not that relatable, I think.
Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah, starting a revolution. It's not gonna happen 9 out of 10 times. But I don't know what the game's about at all. Actually,
Yeah,
so
good. Don't
yeah.
don't spoil it for yourself. Let's just dive into it.
Okay, I can't wait. I love that. Experience
Yeah.
something totally fresh.
Yes.
Oh,
This is gonna be great. Okay.
I can't wait. I'm
But I
excited.
also want to ask you real quickly about you playing multiplayer games comparing to single player games. Do you feel like there's a difference in your immersion levels?
Yes. So for single player games, if the game does it right, I don't feel like that there is a real world.
Mm.
All that matters is that game. Even if I like now, it's hard because when I start to like lose a lot, it's like it kind of takes me out, and I'm always gonna beat it again, again, again. So I've realized lately like I need to stop playing games hard. At least nowadays. I guess when I was younger, it didn't matter to me because it's like whatever, I'm a kid. But yeah, I need to play games in like enough difficulty where it's like challenging, but not super challenging, and I start to lose and I start to get frustrated and I started like this is just a game, because that's when like. But yeah, so there's a complete difference. When I play multiplayer games, except so this is different. Fortnite is different from all the multiplayer games I've ever played. But yeah, I feel like I am just doing and like I'm playing a game, but with friends to achieve. How would I put this? I'm just passing time with friends, I guess, doing
Mm.
something that's enjoyable. It's hard because the only time that maybe this was a little weird was because I played Black Ops 1. This is the best multiplayer game I ever played with my friends. This is the only time in my life where I'm like, that game and that experience I had with the people I play with is so memorable.
Mm.
I don't know if it's because the friends were amazing and I put like it's like the only game like I play MW3, I play Assassin's Creed, I play a lot of games with people. But Black Ops 1 is the only one I'm like, I literally was probably the greatest time of my life. But that game, it felt super immersive. Like I felt like I was with my friends, like in battle, like experiencing. I felt like it was a movie. Maybe that's the best way to explain it. I felt like it wasn't real because it was too good. It was too much fun. It was too. I was the best ever. What like I was so good at the game. I was the clan. I was the clan leader. So people were like, "KB this, KB that," and that's during a time when I felt so like worthless, alone. Um, so that's why I was like, I was felt very meaningful. It's such a weird time in my life.
You were appreciated.
Yeah,
You were relied
which
on.
exactly, and then I think it was just a really fun game because I enjoyed what Call of Duty World at War. So it was like the second kind of like sequel kind of, and I was like I understood everything, and it was kind of dark, and the maps were dark, and it was Vietnam War, and I don't know, I just felt because other games didn't do that for me. Like I had some friends that I called it, but something about this game specifically hit the nail on the head on every little thing. And in zombies, I love zombies, and I was good at it too. So I don't know why I have to think about it more of why that game itself
Mm.
put me in a different type of perspective that made me be like, I prefer this than anything else in the world. But then, so okay, Fortnite is, I think it's Fortnite did the same thing and why I love it so much nowadays. And I'm not that good though, which is weird. So it's, but Fortnite, I think, I don't know if it's the battle bus or there's something about it where it feels like the world, I don't want to say the world watching, but it's like we all just got onto a bus. It's like we're all hanging out. It's like, guys, we're ready to just jump into and have this like fun experience where we go searching for stuff, building, getting materials, building stuff, and shooting, doing it together. And I think I don't know if it's the art design, but it's like okay, this is cool. This is a fun world. It's not taken too serious. It's not real like Call of Duty. It's not like what's the other one? Player Unknown or Battlegrounds, where it's not like
Yeah,
the
PUBG.
graphics are okay like that. It's like oh, this isn't. I can't get immersed because the Fortnite is so colorful and fun, and like the graphics are so
Mm.
good. And I'm like, I believe it. Even though it's not realistic, it's like I believe it. And then the fact that they add different characters makes me feel like, hey, everything that I've ever cared about in my life is put into one game. It's slowly being put, right? Like all the characters I ever like, and I get to be them, like the experience. And so it feels like we're in just this big tournament, and we're all just jumping. I don't know what it is. I can't. I've been trying to explain it for so long, but like it just feels like if we're just all jumping into like a paintball match, and then but we can respond. It's like cool. We'll just jump in. Okay, we lost. Let's jump into the next one. It's just I don't know what happened. Where'd you go?
Oh, I'm here.
He disappeared. Okay, we're back. All right, but
Okay.
yeah. So but yeah. So I don't. I need to explain this better. But yeah, I single player games is like I love reading. I've always loved reading. It's like I'm experiencing a story with my in their shoes. Multiplayer games is like I'm in my shoes experiencing something that I couldn't do in real life, but I can do in the game, and I'm actually good at it. Because I've been bad at sports when I was younger, so it's like I suck at this, I suck at that, but I'm actually good at this, and it feels like I love being competitive.
Mm.
Like I really love being competitive. So it's like I get to prove myself in a fun way, but it's like yeah, I don't yeah, because I love like winning and like that's why I was like I was always good at Black Ops because I was like we gotta win, we gotta do this, but I always learned it's not about it's this is one thing I was playing Call of Duty. I was like, oh, when I started to realize I was doing good or whatever, I get like I start to lose. And it was never about getting the most kills doing this. It was just about being like number one. I would always look at the scoreboard. I'm like, I'm not number one, so like I want to be number one. So then I would be like, I look at him, okay, I got to be better. And so I constantly push myself to be better, to go do things, to do objectives, and it made me better. But I
Mm.
didn't felt like I guess I felt my worth was in the game, so I had to constantly do better, be better. I mean, Fortnite's different because it's just like you win, you don't win. So it's like if I lose, I have the game. It's nothing to the game is designed perfectly. You quickly just go into another game. 10 seconds in, you're in the next match. No other game has ever done that so quickly.
Mm.
And I guess it's just proving yourself. So that's what multiplayer games are for me. But also, I don't know. It's just especially for in other games. I guess I can get bored of some people, or I get bored. I do this a lot. I get bored of a lot of multiplayer games. But Fortnite, I don't know. I just people was there. Where we dropping? We're jumping here. Let's do like it's just so much fun, and the interaction I have with people is fun. Like everybody's having a good time. We're communicating. We're having a blast.
Mm.
That I feel very happy. The
And
game
that's
makes me
even with
very happy.
strangers?
Yeah, and if I don't really play game a lot with strangers, but yeah, I
Yeah.
one time I was playing with my sister and some random kid joined, 13 years old, and actually this was a weird moment because he was actually pretty good,
Yeah.
and he was talking about stuff, and if I was with other people, not my sister, I feel like they would have been like, let's not play with him. This kid's stupid, blah blah. But my sister was very like, hey, like what's up? Well, she's at the time she was 17, so she was very, and her cousin was there. Well, I guess it's not really my cousin because she's from like my mom's. Well, it's my actually uncle's who's not like part of the family. So it's like it's weird. Like we're cousins, but like not really blood related. But So we're playing, yeah. So then they're really like welcoming to this kid. He was just like talking about stuff. He's like, I'm really good at this, I'm really good at that. And I don't know, I kind of sensed like a little bit of my younger self in him. I was
Hmm.
like, is this how I was when I was 13, like back in the Call of Duty days? And so then I kind of was very nice to him too. I was like, hey, what's up? And we're talking. I was like, how long have you played this game? Are you good at this and stuff? And then at one point, I remember I did the best I ever did in Fortnite. I did the best. I don't know why. I was just doing stuff. And this kid to this day, like, wants to play with me. He talks about me. He's like, where's that KB guy? And I'm like, hey, tell that kid I said hello. Yeah. But
Oh,
but yeah, so it was a very nice experience, and he was very well. I was very welcome. He was very welcoming, and I felt like I made a new friend, or at least I inspired him. Or I was just like,
yeah.
to me, he was like my younger self, and I said, just keep doing you. Don't care what anybody does, and that's it. That was the only reaction. But that's another thing too that blows my mind away. But like I feel like it's in a way like time traveling. Like it was a moment in time, because I've never. When I was younger, I always felt like why wasn't there someone there for me? So like in this moment, I was like, look, I felt a certain way, and I could go on a path of like victimhood, but instead I was like, this kid was like me. I want to be that person that I never really felt like I had for that kid, so that he can feel,
Mm.
yeah, so he can continue to go on this path of like doing what he loves, or being good at his game, or meeting good people, or realizing that not everyone that's older than him is going to be mean to him or
You
something.
related to him.
Yeah, I related to him. So yeah,
Yep.
so that's another reason why I love multiplayer games because even though I'm very introverted, I love meeting new people. And again,
Mm.
it's easier in a video game world because you're just mic to mic. But
Not
I've met
only
a lot.
that, you have a common interest then. You already
Exactly.
have something to
Ready.
talk about.
Yeah. So I've met a lot of cool people online who are very nice, very caring, who very they're like it's weird because I've met people who've never really played games and they would tell me like the world is very cruel, people are mean, people are like don't like trust like you can't trust people. And I can't relate. I'm like I've had a lot of friends from different parts of the world, and the last thing they've been is untrustworthy. And actually, this can get really deep, but like the only person that's ever been untrustworthy or has actually hurt people was myself. And that's another story. But yeah. So like nowadays we flash forward, it's like no, the only person that you could say that actually is like that is probably yourself. And if you're saying that, you probably have to look in the mirror. And this is another person I've dealt with who I'm no longer friends with, but like that's when I realized like, hey, like sometimes what you think the world is how the world's going to be because that's the only way you see it or you
Mm.
attract people. So yeah, that's but yeah, that's what multiplayer games do. Like it's weird. It's like multiplayer games is just me being able to be in a world where other people are, but I'm good at what needs to happen
Yeah.
and I
But
can
there's also
talk.
no strings attached,
There's no
really.
pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I go into the real world and it's like everybody expects me to act a certain
Yep.
way and to look at people in the eye. Like, and when I was younger, it was just harder. It just didn't make sense to me. And I didn't even care for it. I'm like, what does this all matter? It's
Mm.
just when I go home, this makes sense. I know when I'm winning and I'm losing. In real life, it's like, okay, grades, cool, but like, I don't know. It was just weird for me. So that's why I guess I get everything nowadays. Like I get when we're moving into the future, I understand these sports, I understand people. But I think that's the main thing, though. Understanding people was what gave you once what games have showed me, and understanding the potential for yourself. Because games instantly show you what you're doing good or you're doing bad, so you can constantly improve. So it's like, okay, I suck at this game, but by tonight I'm gonna be good. And then people see it, and I've seen it when I got appreciated for being good at something. But the thing was, before the Black Ops days, I was pretty much alone for a while. Like I would play multiplayer games on my own
Mm.
and I didn't have a mic, so I was just playing on my own, trying to prove myself to whoever, myself. So, but then one day it came to a point where it's like everything you worked for is to show, and it was. It was like a year and a half of an experience I'll never forget. And I met a friend there that I'm friends with for life. I met him on the Black Ops 1. 2 or 3 years later, we realized we live in the same state, the same city, and then he was going to my school. He was 2 years younger than me. And so ever since then, we still friends to this day. And in fact, he's one of my best friends ever.
Yeah.
And we talk about it all the time. He's like, remember the Black Ops days? I'm like, I'll never forget those days. And it's
Mm.
it's wild to me. And so yeah,
Totally.
that's yeah. And I think it helped heal me from whenever I was dealing with, I guess when I was younger. I don't know, but like slowly these games have helped me shape who I am today.
Yep.
It really has. Like Assassin's Creed has shaped the idea of like to serve people. Because the whole thing is like we work in the dark to serve the light. So I'm always like, I need to help people. That's just from games. Like you could tell me, I think if I didn't have games and if I was in the wrong environment, I could have been sent off into a wrong path. But because I've had my role models for video game characters, which is weird again. Again, people like, oh, you just live in a fantasy. I'm like, yeah, but at least this fantasy helped me become a person that cares about people.
Hmm.
I, yeah, I think it helped me be a better heal to the point where like when people say, hey, people are bad, I go, no, they're not. Even though I've gotten hurt a lot of times, I'm like, no, people are actually more good than you think they are, and it's okay.
Ah,
Yeah, so that's what
that's
it's.
beautiful.
I know, right? So that's my little thing about games in there.
Yeah, no, I definitely think like, especially if we can't really be molded into this normality that society thinks
Hmm.
exists, I think games has been a very popular and important escape. And we're still learning through games. We're learning about ourselves, we're learning about the world through games. And I do think that games can help us fit into society a little bit as well, because it helps us build confidence.
Hmm. And sometimes you'll play as characters who aren't fit into society,
Yeah. And
and
you know
then
it's okay.
yeah, and you again, Kingdom Hearts. I think because it's probably the backbone of my life. It's the second one is my favorite game of all time, right under Witcher 3. Witcher 3 is such a good game. I just that one brought me back to like the old days when I was like, that was the first time where I played a single player game. Because what happened was I stopped playing video games for like 3 years or 2 years. Then
Mm.
I started playing a little bit, and then I just kind of like if it here and there. It was just like Call of Duty again with friends. And then I played Witcher 3, and I was like, oh, I haven't felt this way about a game in years.
Yeah.
And then I started playing more games like Horizon, God of War, all that. But what's it called? What was I trying to go with that? Damn, I lost my train of thought.
Aw.
No, what was I? Oh yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2. So Kingdom Hearts 2, the Kingdom Hearts in general has like done something where it was just like the whole my friends are my power type of thing.
Mm.
I I guess it just molded me into like realizing that friends are strength too. Like they're not just people that you just go and see and say hello. Like they mean more than just another person. They're like friends, people are kind of your sense of power too. And I don't know, it's weird because it's like the game is you meet people from different worlds and everyone actually like cares and means something to you and they still your friend. Whether you leave the planet and don't see them for a while, they're like, hey. And so then I started because I kind of feel the way nowadays where I have friends in different parts of either like LA, Jacksonville, some friends I actually have from like in Canada and Europe because I traveled and so like some of them I still talk to this day and it's just like they're they show me that like the games were true in a way that like you can go out there and travel, meet friends, and they're still your friends. They're not just one time thing. And it gives me strength. It again when people say no, and I'm like, yes, there the world is better than you think because I've seen it. I feel it. I mean it. And it gives me energy to continue moving forward so people can embrace that. To see a better world. So yeah. It's weird, but like I'm literally all the characters I've ever played in one. I'm like molded. It's like, and that's me because I chose to be that person. It's like I'm not
Yeah.
one character. I am what they are the best of. Like I chose the Bruce Lee quote: "Take what is useful and discard what's." I've taken the good quality I've seen in all these characters and said that's gonna be me.
Mm.
And yeah, so it's weird. It's like in the way at first I felt lonely. I didn't know who I was, but then when I started to analyze my whole video game life, I realized like no, I am this, and this is who I am. Yeah, it's funny. In a weird way, I feel like this whole talk has helped me like be better. It's like
Yeah.
healed me because I know we're talking about how the games is healed. And I was like, huh, maybe I was never really broken, or I was at one point, but maybe I've healed and I just didn't know I healed. And so now I feel better about myself. It's
Maybe healing
a
is,
wrong way to say it.
yeah, I feel like games maybe helped you find yourself and who you are, I mean, and you just
Wow,
didn't
damn.
know.
Oh wow, that's deep. Yeah, yeah.
It's because, I mean, especially teenage years, like we're just like brains ballooning out of every scope there is. Like we're thoughts are everywhere, right?
Mhm,
But it sounds like you processed through your life, helping find yourself through games,
mhm,
relating to yourself through your game characters.
mhm. Yeah. And okay, this is another thing too. So all my favorite characters are very optimistic. I love
Mm,
Sora, very optimistic person, probably the most optimistic person in any game that I've ever played. Then there's Aang from Avatar: Last Airbender,
mm,
very optimistic. Ezio is a different character because he wasn't very pessimistic, I think, till maybe the end of his life. But then he even like saw that he was kind of optimistic, and he kind of got like screwed over, but he still kind of had this hope. I think that he had hope, more hope than very like optimism.
mm,
And so then again, I was like hopeful. It was like no matter how many times. But my favorite assassin of all time is Connor, and it's weird because he's very quiet, and people didn't like him because he wasn't very charismatic. But he's my favorite character
mm,
because no matter how like bleak the world was, he even this quote I'll never forget. But the one of the bad guys says, no matter how many times your people you continue to fight, we the Templars in the game will always rise up. Evil will always come back. No matter how many times you fight, people will come back. The people you saved, like the Americans, they're now turning your back on you, which means like they started to, attack some Native Americans and stuff. He's like, and then there's even been a quote before where Connor was like to someone else, he's like, freedom, but freedom for who? Sure, the Americans are free, but what about the Native Americans or the African Americans? So then it's just this constant like, why do you keep fighting for all these
mm.
things when at the end of the day you're still losing? And he's like, because no one else will. And it's the idea of don't ever give up because I just don't give up because even if anyone, if even if the whole world doesn't do it, I will do it because no one else will. And that again, these are all these characters that have formed and shaped who I am today. Where it's just like, yeah, this is me. And when people say, why are you so optimistic? Why are you so happy? Why do you keep doing things even though like it doesn't? And I'm like, sometimes I was just like, I don't know. This is who I am.
Mm.
I've been so sad, so like I just don't want to be sad. But now that we've had this conversation, I'm like, I'm the way I am because of these characters, because I've seen, and some of them have gone through so much crap. And actually, I need to play the third Kingdom Hearts again because there's a moment where my favorite character actually loses it and isn't as optimistic as he usually
Right.
is. And I was like, that's not him. I'm like, no, but then I realized I've been there before where I've almost like given up hope and but then again he comes back. He bounces back and then it's like the
Yeah.
best optim it's in fact it was actually a great scene. And I loved it where it's just like and he have you played Kingdom Hearts 3?
No, not the third one.
Okay, I
I
don't
saw
want
it
to
was on
spoil it.
sale
I
actually.
don't want to spoil it because there is a thing where it actually confirmed what I believed about the world in a way. So
Mm,
it's yeah. So again, I think that's what's happened. It just showed me like, hey, this is who I am, and I've had people before show me like the games be like optimistic, cool, cool, cool. So now when I'm like more in the real world, more doing my things, growing, interacting with a lot of people. So when it's like, hey, how are you so optimistic? And it's like, oh yeah, this is normal for you guys.
mm.
Yeah, I just am because I was molded by it, by the characters that I grew up with, and it
Yeah.
related to me the most, though, which is weird. I think people relate to a lot of different characters, like, oh, I couldn't relate to because you're too optimistic. I'm like, to me, that was normal for me. That again, when you said it shows you who you were, I was like, yeah, that's who I was. I was the optimistic one. Yeah, I know. Now I need to rethink how I viewed my childhood because I used to view it as very like sad and home, not happy. Like I wasn't. But now I need to think of it differently. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, because without your childhood, you wouldn't be who you are today.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Oh, damn. Damn, this has been a lot about me. What about you? What about you? How have games molded who you are today? Or what game, first let's start off, what game has like, what game characters have had the most impact on you?
Oh, it's I really like the optimistic one as well, but I
Which
appreciate the
console?
ones that makes a lot of mistakes.
I agree.
Like the one who trips for the slightest little weird thing, that's me. The one who accidentally says something wrong or doesn't know what they're talking about, that's me.
Oh,
I've done, I think what I've learned is you just keep going. You're allowed to make mistakes, take a lot of responsibility in the sense that you correct it right away. You acknowledge your mistakes. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I'm still practicing today, that if I feel like, or realize that I'm making a mistake or I might be saying something wrong, just correct it. There was a time when I didn't do that, and I had the worst anxiety around it afterwards. Why did I
Really?
say X? Why did I
Yeah.
do that? But now I'm more inclined to understand as well that having the integrity to correct it in the moment means a lot.
Hmm. I'm honoring integrity. And it's the hard thing to do, but it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But it's so hard.
But also like acknowledging that I'm wrong, I could be wrong, acknowledging that I definitely don't know everything, like no way.
Yeah.
I've never been that person to preach either really that I know the best. Like there's always that kind of thing at the back of the head that there's always gonna be someone better, there's always someone that knows more than you. But
But that's okay.
understanding that that's okay.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. There was the longest time when I couldn't accept that. You might remember when I talked about being like the best, proving my worth, and
Yeah.
trying to achieve the top level of my expertise, all that pressure. But it also made me not admit that I'm wrong,
Mm.
which is honestly not, it's not good.
Yeah, no. No bueno.
No.
So then how did you get over that or past that? Like, how did you realize I'm not, being honest with myself and people?
Um, a lot of it came from feeling bad, but I didn't know how to handle it really. But I really appreciated games like Monkey Island.
Monkey Island.
Like Guybrush Threepwood, like such a goofy character, does a lot of mistakes, a lot of wonky stuff, but the story goes on. It moves on. So Monkey Island is an old school point and click game. Only play the first ones if you're gonna get your hands on it. I played a lot of King's Quest as well,
Hmm.
which again had a lot of wonky things happening, a lot of
This is
surreal
old.
experiences, and I
Wow.
just enjoy that. It's I like to play my life feeling like it's okay to make mistakes, and that
And it
there's
is.
a different solution. Like solution can come from anywhere. It doesn't have to be the normal thing that you would think of. It could be like, I don't know, putting a rubber duck on a trolley and swing across the room.
What? I
Yep.
love it. That's great.
So it's like the most crazy solutions can be the best solutions. Is pretty much what those games taught me.
And it's true. And it's how it helps you think outside the box. You're like, wait a minute. The crazy one is the solution. What other crazy things could I do? Or it helps you think back when you're in a situation like I saw something. You're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute. I think I have a crazy idea. And I think it will work because I've seen it done before. So yeah.
Yeah.
And so then what other like characters have inspired you? Like what characters you look up to or you think back have shaped who you are today?
Oh, I was very inspired actually by Xena, the Warrior Princess. I loved those kinds of series when I grew up.
You said Xena?
Yeah, it's an old show. It's Xena, Warrior Princess. So it's a very old show. Like I grew up during a time when Xena, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, like all those things were
Mm-hmm.
the top shows for teenagers, right?
Ah, yeah.
And it was really important for me to have strong and powerful female lead characters, which was a thing back then. And I really like playing games like that. So, for instance, Horizon Zero Dawn is a good example of a strong female
Such a good
character
game.
that's still like it's a lot of soul searching,
Mm-hmm.
understanding their history, their past, what they don't know. And any kind of character like that really resonates with me and makes me actually more immersed in the game because it's relatable.
I love strong female characters. They're
Yeah.
just, especially if they're written so well. Like Aloy.
Hmm.
Gosh, I was like, let's go. Aloy for the win. Especially all the comments she said. She was so sarcastic. I loved it. I loved it so much. I was like, give me more. And then they came out Horizon Zero Dawn 2, the trailer, and I was like, yo, let's go. Give me more. I cannot wait. It's supposed to come out at the end of this year, right?
Yeah, I haven't played the expansion either.
Oh, you need to.
The Frozen
You need to.
something
The
Frozen
Frozen
type.
Wilds.
Wilds, yeah.
Yeah.
There's just so much games to play. Like part of that with being in the games
Hey, there's no
industry.
pressure.
Well, I
You have all
mean,
the time.
I like I feel like the whole career that I chose is about knowing games too, which is a little bit of a pressure.
Just a little bit.
And honestly, I want to play the games I want to play, but research is important. But I don't have time for it. It's a constant struggle,
It
seriously.
is not, yeah. Can we just freeze time? I want to have freeze time for like a year and just play every game ever.
Oh, it's not enough. 1 year's not enough.
Really? Well, not every game, but like every game that I want to play.
Yeah.
I feel like that's enough time. You freeze time for a year. Yeah.
I don't know. I could
There's
spend a whole year on one game.
Wow.
That's the tricky part. Like I think I spent 2 or 3 years only on Final Fantasy VIII.
Wow.
I
That's
did
hard.
play it 3 times too, though.
It is hard as games get longer and longer and longer. But yeah, wow. That's hard. But there's nothing wrong with that too. It's like, why do I need to play every game? It's almost like saying I have to have multiple relationships all the time. It's like you choose that one person to be with, you choose your one story to be with. Why? I mean, it's cool to experience new things, especially as a game designer, it helps you get new ideas and stuff. But there's no pressure. Just play the game you want to play, and if you want to play it
Yeah,
for the rest, at least for 2, 3 years, and do it. You have the time
exactly.
to do it. And yeah, I think maybe because we know life is finite, but like even then, it's like after playing maybe 10 games, it's like, what was the difference between playing one game? Or like at the end of your life, it's gonna be like, oh, I played more games, cool. But but maybe you should have played one and experienced it and felt more immersed instead of trying to rush through 10 games. I don't know. I think
I
this whole time
agree,
thing,
though.
yeah, I think this time thing. I think as a society, we need to get less than like we don't have enough time and we need to keep moving because we always feel like we have to. And if you don't keep doing something, people will judge you for it.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? They're like, well, what are you doing? I'm like, well, I'm just living. Well, yeah, but like, what? I'm like, no, I'm just living. Like, I'm living. Livin, like Matthew McConaughey said.
And you know how many people want to do that, but they're still judging for it?
Yeah, that's why I try to just stop listening to everyone. Because if you're having people who tell you to be doing things constantly, but yet once they finish whatever 9 to 5 job they have, and most people that do this aren't like creatives, like people working video game. It's just other people, and they probably did something that wasn't fulfilling for themselves. Then they go home and watch TV, which is almost the same thing as playing a game. For some reason, I've never understood that my whole entire goddamn life. I've never understood when people were like, "Well, you're wasting your time." I'm like, all I see you doing is watching TV.
Hmm.
What is the difference between playing games and watching TV? In fact, games are better because you're actually making a tough choice. You're actually doing a lot. Games are not easy. Like you have to level up your characters. You have to go do quests. You have to find stuff. You have to be smart sometimes to solve puzzles. Like I'm like, no, excuse me. So yeah, when these people say stuff, I'm like, look, I'm just doing what I want to do for my life. And again, at the end of the life, nobody's gonna get a scorecard and say I live my life better than yours. It's like no. So just do you. And again, like for instance, Nelson Mandela was in prison for like 20 years. You could play games for 20 years and then one day just like do something, change the world, and be written in history books. Like it doesn't matter how you doesn't matter. Just live your life how you want to do it. If you get inspired one random day and it takes you, you're like, I don't want to play games for like 20 years. I want to go do something else. Then follow that. And then you might do more things than other people who were saying you're wasting your time. You might have actually, like you said, games might have shaped who you are and then helped you become somebody special or somebody
Hmm.
great. And you don't even have to do that. You don't have to be written in history books to become special. It's just like I'm just trying to say that like it's all subject like time. We should judge our life based on what we did in the whole life and not what we did today or yesterday. Like in a Prince of Egypt movie, there's a song where it says, is it looking at no, it's Judge through heaven's I think Judge through heaven's eyes. Let me see if that's exactly the song name. But basically, the song is goes on and on about like you shouldn't judge your life based on like a little speck of like dirt at the bottom of the mountain, but you should judge your life based on the whole entire. Now, here, let me look up the song. Through Heaven Eyes. That's what the song's called, Through Heaven's Eyes. Because basically, the idea to that is because God, for instance, can see your life from beginning to end. It's the only way you can judge someone's life is seeing through the beginning to end. Because you can judge your life based on what you did in the last 10 years, but you don't know what you're going to do for the rest of your life. So you shouldn't judge your life yet. Judge your life at the end when you've done all that you could. That's why people usually at the end regret their life because they look their whole life and say, I could have done more. And you could have if you just were busy living instead of doing whatever people told you to do. And then because you did whatever people told you to do, you felt burnt out or tired or uninspired, so you just sat there and did nothing. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So,
Tricky.
it's tricky.
Yeah, I mean, will you maybe look at yourself and your life and be like, dang, I didn't play enough games?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, yeah. Why not? Like some people maybe want to play all the games, and then they get to the end, they go, I played a lot of games, experienced a lot of things, saved a lot of virtual worlds. I'm happy with my life. I guess it also goes down to you have to ask yourself what matters to you. Really, really think about that. What truly matters.
Yeah, but
And
it's funny. A lot of those kinds of calls, like when you're on the deathbed, it seems to be human relations that always comes back. It's I don't
you wish
remember
you,
where I read it, but I think there was a survey that they had done asking if they had any regret being on their deathbed. And it was like a ridiculous amount of people that all said, I shouldn't have been in this argument, or I should have mended my relationship with this person or that person. It seems like everybody was referencing human relationships.
mm-hmm.
So
I agree
at
with
the
that
end of the
100%.
day,
Yeah,
maybe that's what matters, and maybe through games they can learn how to deal with that as well.
I agree. That's why I think multiplayer and single player games combined make amazing experience because you have the friends where you talk about the single player games you played. You play a single player game all day, and at night you play Fortnite. You're like, hey guys, I play this game, and then it's usually what happens actually with a lot of my friends. We'll talk about the games we've all played, or we'll like just be in a party sometimes and play the single player games and experience it together. Or yeah, I think that's it. Like and that's why I love games because it allows people to build these parties, these groups where you just talk every day. I think it's the only group of people, gamers, who play and talk to each other every day. Like I mean, some people do text and sometimes hang. Actually, well, yeah, some people hang out. But like I've noticed as I get older, unless you live with that person, like you don't really talk to them unless it's like, hey, let's go hang out, and you go hang out. Because I've noticed a lot of people don't like to like small talk sometimes. Like they don't like to say, hey, what's up? It's just like, hey, let's hang out. This thing, hang out. Unless it's a group thing. I've noticed if it's a group thing, they'll have conversations that like continue on throughout the week. And I think that's what's beautiful about games is it constantly gives you a group activity to do. So it constantly gives you, and it gives you new ideas. So you're constantly like, oh, remember that challenge? Remember this new game? Remember this? So it's like games is just a constant feed of like, let's just keep doing this for the rest of our lives. Whereas I think other things are they can become very, it can die at one point. Because I've had that where it's like groups outside of a game environment, and then one day it just kind of dwindles, and then it just doesn't exist. But again, my friend who I met in Black Ops, we're still friends to this day, and a lot of people who have been friends on the video game world are my friends to this
Yeah,
day. So it's
yeah,
like I don't know what it is with
community.
games, but yeah, community games and community is probably the strongest thing about the gaming industry and gaming community.
Totally. Just look at World of Warcraft. There's so
Yeah,
much friendships and love that has been
yeah,
like bridged time zones
yeah,
through that
exactly.
game.
It's wild. Wow. What about you? Have you had like any like friends you made or groups, communities, and games that like constantly are still part of your life to this day?
It seems like so I'm one of those people that I avoided a lot of multiplayer games just because I did have a lot of experiences when I felt out of place or I didn't want to talk because they would hear that I'm a woman and I was scared of what they would say. occasionally there would be the one weird thing when I would be talking and then the rest of the group just went quiet and there was like no teamwork because they realized I was a girl. Like
What?
it's so weird. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. They got like shy. And then there's the occasional dude that wanted to really, really, really befriend me because I was a girl, which is also really, really uncomfortable.
Oh,
So
yeah, I
I've been
get that.
avoiding a lot of multiplayer games unless I'm actually playing with friends. And if anything, I feel like the friendships that I had that I was playing together, multiplayer games with, they got stronger through the games.
Mm,
So we had like this bond, our common interest of playing. We're excited, hanging out also virtually, not only outside of work or outside of school. So it helped me deepen those relationships. But to gain a friend online that still sticks with me to this day, that I've only met online, I haven't really had that experience. And that part is on me to blame because I've been shying away from that as well with my past experiences. Being like the result of that is that I probably cut myself off from that opportunity.
mm. I'm curious, do you feel like you wish you did?
I have had a lot of good experiences online, usually though with people that I already know and have already met,
Hmm.
when I definitely felt like our bond grew way stronger online than it could have done, because there's a different way of expressing yourself through text than it is in real life as well. And
Mm.
especially when you're sitting here like 2 a.m. in the middle of the night, you're on the computer, you can't sleep, you're just having so much fun talking to people, you definitely grow a certain and different kind of bond.
Mm.
So I've had that experience, and I don't know if I'm missing out really. I've had that shallow experience with people befriending me that I got along with online, but all of those are like when real life hits and they have their lives. Are the relationship online also just disappeared? So
Have you
I
seen that?
haven't.
Have you seen that meme where it says, the bros are like, "All right, good night, catch you tomorrow for another game of Call of Duty," and then it says last online like 5 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah, and then I had that actually happen to
yeah,
me once where I played with this guy, really awesome dude. We played a couple games, and then one day he was like, "All right, I'll catch you later, see you tomorrow." Never got back on. I haven't seen him since. I was like, and I was so fucking, like, I thought I was the only one that experienced it. It was interesting when I found that meme because I was like, wow, I wonder how many times that happened to a lot of people. And it's just like, yeah, you meet someone really cool and then just gone forever. And
yeah,
so, yeah, it's tough. It's tough meeting a lot of different people, and then people have lives. I remember the last thing he told me was like, my wife's pregnant, and like I'm not ready for this or something, but like I'm gonna go get a job, and that's it. That was it. He never got back on. I guess he got his life together, like got a job and providing for her and the kid. And I was like, wow. And this was when I was like 13, 12, 14, somewhere around there. And I was like, wow, that's tough.
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, I guess it made me realize that the world is got a lot of responsibilities, and sometimes you gotta make sacrifices.
yeah,
But it was so young that I didn't fully understand that. But like now I look back, I'm like, yeah,
yeah. That's tough. And honestly, like the online connections are the first to go because they are the easiest to cut as well. You just never write back.
yeah, wow. And so, what about for you with games? Did you feel like games have ever healed or like or helped you find or who you were, who you are?
They have definitely helped me through tough periods. They have been a very grateful way to distract myself from tough times, a way for me to be happy and content in the moment. And without games, I don't like I think games are an amazing way to distract yourself, especially if you're on the way of becoming a little bit more destructive or towards yourself, towards your environment, towards other people. You have maybe pent up energy, you don't know where it should go. I felt like games have been amazing to distract myself from taking weird routes.
Hmm. Oh, I like that. You said distract yourself from weird routes, like as in like potentially bad directions. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, yeah, it could
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like anything. Like, let's say that you wanted to run away from home, but let
Hmm.
me just finish this game. And then you're
No,
like,
that's
I know, I'm
serious.
hungry.
Yeah. Well, no, that's true. I think games have done a lot of that, where it distracts you, makes you feel good about. Like, let's say you feel horrible, play a game and it's got like an amazing scene, or you do something, you feel accomplished, and you kind of feel better. You're like, all right, maybe I can handle it
Yeah.
again another day, and then maybe the next day is actually not so bad, and then it's kind of weird. I always felt like games and other stuff were kind of like a safety net that kept me from doing like bad things
Yeah.
I probably would have done if I didn't have that, or if I did get more involved. Like I'm glad I was very introverted in school and very outgoing in the game world, because then like I was safe. I wasn't out doing dangerous things. I wasn't out doing using bad substances. Like I was just being at home, safe
Yeah.
with my
And
friends.
it's easy to happen to end up in a wrong crowd.
Yeah, but yeah, that's. And I mean, I've had some friends online who might have been the wrong crowd, who might have been bad if I was knew them in person, but I didn't, and I only knew. It's weird. I think when you meet people online and because they're in their house, you kind of meet the true self, the one who can't really influence you with like physical stuff, but can express their like internal thoughts and like their insecurities. But because they're online, they're not trying to prove themselves to people around them. So like they're
Hmm.
not trying to be tough or trying. So like you learn about that person. Like I've met someone who was very tough person. He's very like mean to his mom, and in fact probably wasn't a really good person. But I knew him so well because we had lots of conversations. It's like he was just dealing with a lot of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and he actually like I remember one time I think I accidentally I did some bad stuff back then too, so I think I kind of like destroyed the clan or whatever, and was just like, "You guys aren't that good." And
Hmm.
he was the first person to be like, "Bro, I thought we were like we're more." He was the one that was most upset, which is interesting because it was like he became super vulnerable in a place where I was like, he always portrayed him as the strongest one. So yeah, so it was weird. Like I think it's a great place to really truly meet people because you meet the real them, even though you might not like you can even sense when they're trying to be the person they usually are in the real like outside of the game when they're in the school or trying to be a cool kid. And so yeah, I you meet the real people. You meet the real selves. They're not and I love that. I always thought like that was interesting to meet and to experience the real them, the one there's no filter. Because again, you're making friends with people based on their voice and then what they talk
Mm-hmm.
about. You're not meeting them based on what they look like. And yeah, that's it. You're just literally the pure form. It's the purest form of friendship that I think is actually better sometimes because you're not judging them. You're just like hey, and you're like hey. All you know them is their name, and the name is interesting too because like it's a little bit of like finding out like who they are as a person. So yeah, I missed kind of the days where it's just like only meeting people online and only
Yeah.
like interacting with their username and then what they like talked about. Yeah,
But you're absolutely right. It's a clean slate. You
yeah, it's
don't
a
have
clean slate.
any, you have no preconceptions about the person.
Hmm.
So they are allowed to write their own story from scratch.
Exactly. And nobody judged anybody but anything. I mean, if you were a female, sometimes it's like, "Ooh, you're a female, like, come join us." And then some people would be like, you know, you know how it is. But we always had like one girl in our group, and I don't know, we were always like welcoming to her. Some people, yeah, it was interesting, and I always liked meeting people, like all types of people. I
Mm.
got my one of my greatest friends I ever met was friend Katia from Peru. Greatest person I ever met. She's the sweetest, nicest person. I didn't realize she was like way older than me too. Then I met her other friends, and it was like four of us, and it was the nicest people in the world. They were actually way too nice. Like I remember one time they joined one of my other parties, and people were being mean to them, and I realized like these people were pure souls. I don't want anybody ever being like mean or because like yeah, and I was just like no, and it was cool meeting someone from Peru because I'm Peruvian, so it kind of felt like I had a connection to my
Mm.
country in a way that I never had before.
Yeah.
It's sad because I don't really talk to them anymore, but they were the best friends I ever made in my life. And it was all through online. And God, they're
Mm.
so nice. They're so pure. But again, it's like, yeah, like I've met people, like females, males, other people, people maybe I didn't even know who they were. They didn't never express themselves. Some
Yeah.
people were younger. Some people, like you didn't get to say, like, oh, you look a certain way, you do this. You were just like, we're all human beings. Even someone who was 14 years old, but he put a voice changer, thought he was like older. But even when he came out one day and said, "Hey, I'm actually like younger than you guys by a lot," and we're like, "Okay, doesn't change anything." I know one of the friends was like, "No, like F you," and it was again, it was weird because I was friends with so many different people because it was a clan. I Lots of people, yeah. Some people didn't like certain people. Some people tried to
Mm.
get with like the girl and did certain things, and it was just this weird like dynamic of people, and you learn about people. But still, at the end of the day, it was just like we're all just trying to be a pure self. And if you tried to hide it, though, we could kind of tell, but we still accepted you.
Mm.
Yeah, it was like this weird like mess of people still accepting each other and loving each other. And people would get into fights sometimes, but at the end of the day, it's like, hey, we're a family in a way. We're a clan. We're a team. Yeah.
Human
So
relationships are always very difficult
yeah,
because we are all different. If we were all normal, we would
people.
know exactly how to react. We would know how
Yeah,
to solve every single situation.
yeah.
That is not the case.
Ah, but yeah, I love the idea of just people accepting themselves for who they are.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then like sometimes you go Facebook like, oh, it's funny each other's Facebooks. Like, oh, that's who you look like. That's what you are. And at the end of the day, nobody cared though. That's when I think I truly became confident in myself. Was one time there was this one girl who I met, and it was more of like a romantic thing. That we slowly were like we were best friends, but there was like more. And again, this was all online. So I think I shared a picture of myself being super insecure, being like, oh, you're not gonna like who I look like and all this stuff. And she was like, no, I like you. And then like I saw a picture of her, and she was in my eyes like super attractive. So I was like, oh, really? And then I guess from then on, I was just like, maybe I am like okay, maybe I'm. And then I started to be more confident and started like working out. I was like, well, even though maybe she likes who I am now, maybe I can even be better or like make myself feel better with myself, look better. So I started like working out and dieting. And then from then on, the rest is history. But like, yeah, everybody accepts each other, and it was the weirdest thing to me.
They
It was,
enabled you.
yeah, again, it's a bunch of people who were probably insecure, misfits, wouldn't be the same when they met people in real life, but because it's
Yeah,
the purest form of like friendship, everybody was accepting.
I totally get that. Like, if you're introvert enough and you are molded into this society view of who you should be, you're probably not gonna gain any confidence from that. But if you're able to have a clean slate and you're encouraged by people online that they are a voice still, they are someone validating you for who
Hmm.
you are,
Yeah.
and it builds confidence and it wants to make you improve yourself for these people as well, like not only for those that are in real life.
Hmm.
And you can find strength in every place.
That's beautiful. What about you? You ever had like a moment where you felt empowered by someone or felt like accepted and then it made you more of who you are?
Hmm. I don't have a lot of online experiences because I shied away from it. Um, I've had a lot of experiences in real life instead that, of course, brings you down or
But what
makes it
about
hard
like
to rebuild
characters?
yourself.
Is there any like stories or games where you played it and then it empowered you too? Like the voices in the game, the sayings they said were like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't give up. Because I know you said you felt kind of like doubtful a little bit about being like the only girl in your class, and there was like two girls I think a year above you, right? But still, you
Yeah.
felt kind of doubtful. Like, is this right for me?
Yeah, it was quite difficult to feel like I earned my place in the industry and to know that it's okay to be where I am. But when I talk about games with people, that's where I'm having fun too. I'm feeling like I'm validating myself. But then occasionally I felt a lot of pressure as well. So the pressure I could feel was when they're referencing games I wouldn't have been playing. Like it's really weird because we all play different things, we all like different things. But in my head, I was worth less because I hadn't been playing the same games as the boys would have played. And if anything, there were moments when I felt validated. So I really liked point and click games because they're usually very heavily story driven as well.
Hmm.
So I really enjoyed playing a lot of point and click games. Then came a time when I just didn't have the patience anymore because it's quite slow paced.
Yeah.
And I realized point and click games were very niched category, which was surprising to me because I had played a lot of it, and I come out on this other side, and people like, I'm playing Doom, I'm playing Wolfenstein, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't play those games, so I felt so out of it. And then occasionally came that one person who said, I also really enjoyed King's Quest, or I spent a lot of my childhood playing Monkey Island.
And when you felt like, you know, accepted and that somebody else was a part of your
Yeah.
group, and yeah.
It's like if you watch movies, but you only watch a certain genre of movies, someone might judge you for it. Like, you don't really know movies because you haven't watched them all.
Yeah, it's true. But
It's a
like,
little bit like that, I felt.
yeah. But so is that so? Do you feel sometimes that maybe you should have explored other genres or games so that you could fit in?
No, so what I usually did was that I would browse forums. I would go online and find people who would play the same games that I did. And they helped validate me. They helped. So I was making fandom pages of Final Fantasy VIII, for instance, because I spent so much time on it.
Yes.
Creating my own web pages, making my own GIFs even. I was doing my own stuff to contribute to the community. And that's how I felt more validated. I could express myself more. But no one really knew about this. I don't know how many people knew that I did these things in real life. It's online that I was appreciated for it. And I never felt like I needed to tell people outside of my online community either. And the online community pretty much didn't know who I was. They saw me for the work I was doing and for the fandom that I was part of.
Okay.
So it's interesting because I got to express myself online in a way that I couldn't in real life. And I felt that was enough. That satisfied me and helped to drive my interests.
So you did kind of have a moment experience like that. Maybe it wasn't video games itself, but you had an online community where you felt accepted and then
Yeah, but it wasn't as grand as today. Like, it wasn't like there was not a lot of people online. I mean, this is at the time when internet was really slow, not really all worldwide expansive either.
Oh yeah.
It's a time when you had that modem going beep 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 to
Oh my
connect.
gosh, yes.
And I probably destroy my parents' wallets being online.
No, really?
Because it goes through the phone line.
Oh my god. Oh yeah, AOL. The old days. Oh my goodness.
So it was a different kind of community. Like, there was not a lot of people there. Like, now everybody's online, and growing up during those times, it's just like you don't have the same online opportunities as you have today. This, like, you can't really compare.
Yeah, you really don't. It's wild. But I mean, yeah. But hey, at least you shaped yourself to who you want to be today, and you're better for it. Do you
And
feel?
without that fandom, I wouldn't have gone into games theater, I think.
Yeah. So there you go. You had your little group. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
we didn't
it's
know each
beautiful.
other, but
Yeah.
still, it helped.
There you go. That's beautiful. And then, so another thing I want to get to is like, how do you feel? What do you feel like specifically more women should understand and know based off of your experience? Like, let's say you're now the optimistic character in the game, in the world. Why should they stay optimistic?
Yeah, it's
Or how can they? I mean, maybe be a better one.
don't let one experience shape your next experiences. Like, really, you can have one bad experience out of hundreds, and it might bring you to a minus in energy levels, but really just keep at it. I mean, I was one of those who shied away when I had a bad experience or an uncomfortable experience. It didn't have to be really, like, per se bad. I was just like not feeling happy about it. And that was it. Because especially during my teenage years, it's a sensitive age when I was overthinking everything.
Mm-hmm.
One bad experience could set me back for 2 weeks not wanting to play online.
Oh no, yeah.
But today, I think it's different. I think it's different today. It's not what it was back then. Because back then, being a woman online was very rare. Now it's
It
not that
was.
rare. People are more accepting. There's so many more people who have been brought up knowing that it's okay to be different. It's okay to not only be you don't have to expect to be the only one in a crowd either today. So now if I would go online and play a game, hearing another female voice still surprises me. I
Oh, it
don't think
does?
that's the case if you grew up and being more used to online. But still to this day, because I was so used to being so rare in the communities, that's a reaction I'm having. But I don't think that's true today. Like, times have changed.
Yeah.
People are more accepting. People are excited to bring in more diversity. I'm really happy about that. We are still more work to go, but just like keep at it.
Yeah.
Be part of that group of diversity.